Recently, I got the Lego Architecture London set, and while it's a great set if you want a piece of London on your shelf, it's not exactly what I was looking for. So I took it apart and built a Mortal Engines inspired vehicle. Now, firstly, I'll just say this part is packed full of good pieces. It's got a ton of light bluish grey tiles, which you can see I'm building here into a base, as well as tan plates and profile bricks, as well as light bluish grey plates and white too. Some of my favourite pieces include these profile bricks, which you can use for hay bales, or here I'm using them to build up the tower of the Big Ben, which is going to form the salient point of the city on this vehicle. What I'm planning to build here is like a steampunk sort of vehicle set in the future. In the book, Mortal Engines, cities such as London rove around the post-apocalyptic world, eating up the other cities. And they run on big caterpillar tracks, and it's really survival of the fittest, so they have to get bigger and more robust to stay intact. I'm building up the second tower here, and I decided to use an arched dome piece using this silver bowl that was included in the original set. I feel like I should mention here, I'm only using parts that were in the original set, so you can rest assured that I'm not trying to build just a MOC here. This is an alternative build of the same set. The set itself is actually quite good. The scale is pretty good, and while I do prefer minifigure scale sets, this micro scale building works well in some cases. In the original set, it features a few buildings, mainly the monuments of London, as well as the London Eye. And while it doesn't include the Shard or any of the modern skyscrapers, it does include the Tower Bridge, the Westminster Abbey, and some other buildings too. Here I'm moving on to the base of the build. This is where everything attaches to, such as the wheels, the walls, and eventually the city on top. So it needs to be really robust. I'm using those snot bricks, which I'm going to add things onto the side. Like here, I'm adding the back of the build onto the side of the snot bricks. Next, I'm building up the front. These nice blue tiles came in the original set, and I'm using them to make the sides of the front of the vehicle. I tried to make it look a bit like a face to give the vehicle more character, using these rounded tiles to fashion it into a sort of mouth. I'm building up the main face now, and I'm using the hollow bit in the 1x2 clear bricks to add these 1x1 rounded tiles as eyes. This gets added onto the front, and now I add on the sides and top of the city. As you can see at the back, I've got a hinge on a Technic axle, and you'll see later I'm going to be adding on the back of the build hinged on there. Here I'm making the caterpillar tracks using some snot brackets. I've made 2 of them using the parts from the base of the tower bridge in the original set, and I'm adding them on to the snot bricks I prepared earlier. Here's how the city looks so far. We can see it looks a bit steampunk with those claw pieces coming up out of the rooftops and the blue chimney stacks with the Technic pin and the gold 1x1 plate on top. I'm adding on the arms. These are Technic pieces that were originally used to make the London Eye, and now I'm using those aforementioned hinge pieces to add on the tower bridge to the back. This represents the expansion of the city. As they consume other cities and get more parts, they need to expand outwards, and it seems to me that they would be adding on structures onto the back of the build to bulk up their city and accommodate their growing population. We're adding on the flex tubes that came in the original set as part of the London Eye round behind the city. I think these represent like walkways or bridges, and on the topmost of them I'm putting the 1x2 trans clear plates as well as the 1x1 white clips that came as the carriages in the London Eye to make like a more solid glass walkway. Next, I'm building a smaller city using the leftover parts and adding some smokestacks to the back and a statue on top. This city's more modern with only 3 wheels and being mostly glass, and you can imagine how it would be absolutely demolished by the bigger London if it caught up to it in the Mortal Engines universe. So here we've got the finished build. You can see how I tried to make the city into a triangular shape, framing the Big Ben clock face in the middle. Let me know what you think of this build in the comments and what you think I should build next. Next week's episode, we have another alternate build. It'll be the Cherry Blossom set. So subscribe and like the video to stay tuned for next week. Here are the final shots.